Okay, Bob, you told me that after the MBA, you chose to go back to your previous company, McKinsey, and your previous country, Kenya, after the MBA. What were the major driving factors behind that decision?
Okay. There are, I guess, rational reasons why I'm going back, and there's emotional reasons.
Let's start with the emotional reasons, because I tend to think they're more important.
Yeah, and they are definitely, for me, the most important. I guess there are two reasons primarily. The first being the most important is that I have a wife and she's in Kenya. She has, burgeoning career in Kenya. She's just starting to pick up. I have already been selfish enough to say I'm going to disappear to another country soon after I got married and to do my MBA. I think it is too selfish for me to say, stop whatever you're doing, upend your life, let's go to another country. And also it's not that working for the firm is not exactly like a bad career path. So why not? I think.
And you're probably already traveling, right?
I'm already traveling as part of my job. I guess what it would be if I moved here, it'd be very different. It'd be different types of countries. I'd be traveling around Europe rather than traveling around Africa, which is a different experience. I think the second reason is it's a bit more complex. When you live outside your country, there's a lot of things you don't appreciate. This as basic as the weather. I was so used to good weather that when I came here, it was a surprise that not everyone had bad weather.
I'm guessing second is food.
There's food, but I think food here is not. We have
there's no tourism in this country for food. We can put it that way.
The food tourism sector is not doing too great. There's also, on a more serious note, I guess I don't stand out in Kenya as I do here. I guess I wouldn't stand out too much in London, but in Cambridge I kind of do. There is. I get the sense, as much as everyone is very, very friendly, it is harder for me to fit in and belong because I didn't grow up in this culture. I didn't.
Isn't that most of Cambridge?
Yeah,
I didn't grow up in Cambridge, but obviously. So I'm part of the small part of the cohort that's from this country, but 90% of our cohort isn't
from the UK.
From the UK,
yeah, that's true. However, I don't think there are very few people in the cohort who stand out in terms of I've never met you. Oh, you're this person, because you're not going to confuse me with anyone else in the cohort for obvious reasons. So that's I guess it's not a big reason why, but it's more comfortable for many reasons. It's because family is there, people know me, I can speak in Swahili, and here people will be like, what is that? So there's emotional reasons. The rational reasons are obviously that I have a sort of established career path there. Kenya is one of, I think, big four countries you could say in Africa, of that being Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt. Some people argue Morocco, Angola could be there, depending on who you talk to, but it is one of the big economies. It is also, I think, has so much opportunity for growth. The people and the industries, Kenya particularly has a very large opportunity for growing in the tech space, in which I'm very passionate for. There's all this thing about, we have the Silicon Fen in Cambridge. Nairobi has this silicon savannah, and everyone is putting silicon in front of everything to sound techy. But in all seriousness, there is a big opportunity there, and I think I would feel a lot more satisfied if I built up something there that was this sort of nationalistic pride, even if Kenya has an idea of what it is kind of a post-colonial country. So there's logical reasons, there's emotional reasons. To be honest, all the logical reasons are not as strong because I could always argue the same thing for moving to another country, especially career-wise. But
so it sounds like impact of your job in your personal eyes does matter to you.
Yes, and impact. It is much. When you have, let me use a allegory here. When you have a big moving machine that is like the US or the UK, if you push it ever so slightly, it's still going to move at the same rate. When you have a smaller economy, you have a lot more opportunity for impact. Even if you do something small relative to, this in US dollar terms, it might have a lot more impact to a lot more people and uplift their standard of living a lot more than in the US. Because in our Western countries, you're sort of moving operational efficiencies here and there. I mean, there's obviously going to be disruptions as with any industry, but there is a lot more opportunity for impact in Africa and in Kenya in particular, and this patriotic pride. However, it is a very, very hard place to work for many reasons.
Yeah. What are some of those reasons? Is it similar to what I'm thinking of? Do you have to pay bribes, for example, to get things done through the government?
Yeah, it's the usual developing nation struggles. There's corruption issues and getting things done. There is infrastructure issues. As I mentioned, basic access to basic things like water, electricity, internet might not be as high, so you're limited in types of innovations. There's just issues with the amount of income people have. So let me talk about a sector I know. So telcos, for instance, what the biggest telcos in the world? Probably the first one is from China, the second one is from India, because a third of it comes from Africa. Yeah.
This is in terms of the number of users.
Not the revenue. Not the revenue. Yeah. So here's the important part. As you've seen, because in terms of number of users, China and then I think Airtel, which is India and Africa, a lot of them, if you look at the average revenue per user, AT&T has like 10 times, which is in America. It has like 10 to 20 times.
100 to 1,000.
Probably 100. I'm being very generous. But the amount of, because people are earning so little, the amount of revenue generating opportunities as a business are very low. So everything has to be priced down. Yeah. And it's a sort of
disposable income is different. Yeah.
Disposable income is different.
You're tapping into the amount of money that person needs, not the amount of money they're throwing away on luxury items or leisure. Yeah. Yeah,
I think one of the biggest telco is I think MTN, and it's worth billions, couple of billion, maybe like $6-7 billion. Because if you project all the future earnings, it's so low. However, I think AT&T is probably worth what, I don't know. I'll have to look, but I'm guessing more than 50 billion at least. So,
probably is.
Just to build wealth is going to take a lot of time and it's going to take a lot of work. Another thing people don't think about is that when a lot of this, while people say, oh, there's a billion people in Africa, a billion people in India, a billion, 1 point something in China, and a lot of these businesses, when China was growing as an economy, were set up when they were relatively the same economic place. In India and in China, you have a common language, you have common or near common.
Yeah, you can communicate.
You can communicate. You have the same sort of culturally, you're not too dissimilar.
Yes.
However, in Africa, it is much, much bigger than all of those countries combined.
Yeah, I agree.
2, you're dealing with 50 plus countries, which even within the 50 plus countries,
of a large geographic area. With there are ways to get from one place to the other, but they're probably not ideal or comfortable at all.
Yeah, you don't. Safe. You didn't need visas to cross the states in. Yeah, you need visas. Also, people are talking different languages. They all have different cultures. All the different countries are different economic, right? So the different economic states, yes, you might have that within a country, but it's within one country. So dealing with a continent is much, much more difficult, and you can't, and that's how you find people deal with individual countries. You start with Nigeria because it's the biggest economy in terms of GDP and also in terms of population, and then you go build up certain other. but it's a much different problem compared to what people tend to use as a allegory in terms of 1970s China was the same, so let's copy paste. It can't exactly work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see yourself as potentially being part of that growth story for a satisfying career.
I'm hoping to. As I told you, I had plans, and every time I have plans, it changes. So right now that's a plan.
Yeah.
Hopefully, be part of that, wave of young Africans trying to do the right thing and trying to build Africa.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming you can't talk about your exit strategy, but I'll be on the lookout for entrepreneurship endeavors by you in Kenya. What from the MBA, what have you discovered about yourself? Do you feel that you didn't know about before?
I tend to be very bad at being introspective. I would say that.
Yet you define yourself as an introvert, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm an introvert, but I just like the time to be by myself. But not think about myself. Think about other things. Like think about ideas.
Yeah.
Rather not think about what else. Probably that is it. I'm now very comfortable with myself. I think pre-consulting I was very uncomfortable about who I was.
Is that because you had so many options and opportunities? And I think, like we spoke about before this, options doesn't necessarily give you confidence about yourself. Sometimes the lack of options or having explored some of those options makes you feel like actually I was better off with what I had. Yeah,
I think consulting has given me opportunities to be pushed. And I found a way that I was comfortable and like a modus operandi, and I'm happy with that. And I think just coming to a new environment, I thought maybe was that only because I was in that environment and maybe it doesn't apply to other places. Coming to a different geography, a different environment has proved that I'm happy with this and I'm happy with who I am. I don't need to be in all the parties, but I also don't want to be in no parties, to put it.
Yeah. And what has your favorite moment been from the MBA?
A favorite moment? I would have to say our GCP was pretty good. We went to Abu Dhabi. So for context, we went to Abu Dhabi. Our client was a government entity that was looking at early childhood development. We were there for 2 weeks. The team was great. It was people I had never, to be honest, spoken to, but we gelled so well. We had a great time in Abu Dhabi. We worked very hard, contrary to popular belief. We worked very hard. We explored a lot of the UAE, and it's one of those things that I had not even thought about, or putting yourself out there, and not even thought about as being a possibility. And it opened my eyes to a lot of, I think, misconceptions I had about the Middle East. That's definitely been the most fun, or the best thing that's in the MBA.
Yeah. And finally, if you had infinite income, if you had, let's not make it infinite because you're a very technical person. If you had a lot of money, I'm going to make it emotional. I know how to ask you questions.
Yeah.
If you had a lot of money, a whole bunch of money, bags full of it, what would you do next right after the MBA?
If I had a lot of money, so by definition, I didn't need to work for anyone.
Yeah.
If I had a lot of money,
and you could make an impact, but you couldn't feed everyone. I'm not going to make this too easy for you. You can't just throw money around and make everyone eat. Although I personally think that would make them worse off. But yeah.
I don't know what I would do because I haven't thought about it. But I would look into. So obviously my answer is going to be biased. It's going to be in Africa because I think that's probably maybe Africa and maybe South America, and maybe parts of Southeast Asia. I would look at the fundamental problems that need to be solved. So this is a bit of a sort of Bill Gates approach.
What do you think they are?
But this is sort of a Bill Gates approach to post, right? So you look at a fundamental problem, you say, I want to eliminate malaria, and you go. I haven't looked at it. I would think one of the things I'd be very passionate for. So if let's put all the biases of my background together. So I'm an electrical engineer, so I would be very I'll be very this is what I'll do. I'll be very into making sure that everyone has access to electricity and basic communication, probably, i.e. the internet. How I get that done, how I get that built sustainably, how I get around the regulatory craziness that you need for the spectrum and all that, I have no idea yet.
So even with money, do you think you would face challenges around regulatory? Wow.
Yeah, because for instance, spectrum is a natural resource right now considered by many countries. Even if you build the resource, even if you build the infrastructure, they're not going to give you spectrum. Even if you build, for instance, in Kenya, if you build, you might not even be allowed to build like a transmission line, because only certain organizations that are allowed to do that. And I'm sure something similar applies to all countries. So I would look into how to solve that problem, because I think if I had a near infinite amount of money that is not just giving handouts to everyone, getting a business to create more money for myself doesn't make sense. So I look at things that require investment that will not necessarily give you income, but will have outcomes in the next 50 plus years. Because if you invest in electricity today, maybe that gives you a platform for other businesses, or it means that people can now use electricity bulbs instead of using candles, or it means that some child in a village somewhere who would not have had the opportunity to think about other parts of the world is exposed to it very early. So internet electricity, get that from, like, I think the internet penetration right now in Africa is probably 20-30%, and electricity, and these numbers might be completely off but directionally correct. It might be sub-Saharan Africa, let's say 50-60%. I know in Kenya it's like 75% plus. So get that to as near as, and by the way, in Western countries it's 99%. Get that to at least 90-99%. Then that gives a platform for other people to build upon the basics.
More problems.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Bob. I want to thank you for coming here today, and I hope everyone else finds this as interesting as I did.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers.